Hey, welcome to the Trinity Podcast. My name is Joel, and we're so thankful that you are tuning in or listening or watching today. And it's always fun to have a conversation with a number of our pastors around a table, but today is different, ladies and gentlemen. It is different. We've been in a family talk series, and we've been looking at how to make friends, why our faith is important to pass on to our kids, authority, a number of different things. And we get to hear a lot from parents about parenting, especially in church culture. A lot of times it's parents talking about parenting. However, today on the podcast, we're going to get a chance to hear from the kids. That is right. So Daniel Riddick has his son, Braden, right over here sitting with him.
Hello, everybody.
And I have my daughter, Kinley. She is here with us today. And guys, right off the bat, are you just like so pumped to be on the podcast today?
Yes, I've been talking to my dad probably every week on trying to get a feature. So it's finally come.
Kinley, do you have the same feeling as Braden?
Sure. Yes.
Kinley may not be as excited as you, Braden. I don't know. But share a little bit about, first of all, what grade are you in? And I don't know, what sports you play, Braden?
So, I'm Braden. I'm in the 9th grade. Pastor Daniel Riddick is my dad. And I just like to play basketball, and I play basketball for the school and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome. Kinley, how about you?
My name is Kinley. I am in 9th grade as well. My dad is the Joel Milligan, guys. He's Joel Milligan, and I play volleyball here at Trinity and do club stuff too.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, I thought it'd be fun, Daniel, to play a little game with the kids.
Let's do it.
The kids at the table. We're going to find out how well they know us.
Okay. Here we go.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and feel free to give your best guess or honest answer. Okay? Here's the first one. What is your dad's birthday, and how old is he right now? Kinley, we'll start with you. When is your dad's birthday, and how old is he?
Everyone makes fun of me because I don't know. I know it's in August, and it's the beginning of school. So I don't know, 15th? August 15th?
Okay.
It was like
close.
20 something? I don't know. August something. So the beginning of school, and you're 43?
Okay, 43. She got my
right.
age right.
Is that
One
right?
out of two.
Oh, good.
My birthday is August 10th. Kind of,
Close.
you should know that. No.
Okay, so for me, I have some weird ways of remembering. So I'm going to start off with the age. He is the same age as LeBron James.
There we go.
That's how I remember. So
Okay.
38 years old,
That's
if
right.
that's correct.
That's right.
And then my cousin has a birthday really close to my dad's. They're both in February, and they're in the 20s. So I might get them switched, but is it February 23rd?
Off by one day, February 24th.
Oh, jeez.
That's pretty good. I feel good about
bad.
that. I mean, honestly,
Not bad.
way better than I thought you were going to do. So.
Okay.
I was thinking February 27th at first, but I knew it was 3rd. Well,
All right, Braden, back at you. How long have your parents been married?
Ooh.
Oh, so they got married pretty young. So I'm going to say he's 38. Is it 19 years?
Not quite.
Not quite.
It is. We've been married for 17 years.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was pretty close.
You were close.
You are close. All right, Kinley. How long have mom and dad been married?
I just remember something happened last year with our anniversary, and you you pranked her you did it a day early. I don't even remember. Is it 22 years, 23?
22 is actually
Okay.
correct.
All right, wow.
Coming up on 23. That's right.
I'm right.
You guys are
Isn't
both
it
doing a lot
Man.
better
Isn't it-
than I
Okay.
anticipated.
December something 2000 is your...
I'm pretty sure my dad did it a
Yes.
day early, and it wasn't a prank.
That's what it
So-
was. It was him. Yeah.
She just called you out.
I think it was him because I
That
was like,
is,
I know
yeah.
someone got it wrong.
Would you care to explain, Daniel?
Well, it was. I think it was 2 years ago. I was convinced we got married on December the 17th, and in my
was
mind,
close.
I got December the 15th. it stuck in my mind. So it was early. I guess that was good. And I was prepared. But on December the 15th, I get up early in the morning. She comes out ready for school. And I had like flowers and a card and all that kind of stuff. And happy anniversary. And she was very kind and she went with it.
Oh, wow.
You know, because she didn't want to make me feel bad.
Yes.
And then she finally said, today's not our anniversary. But I was so convinced. I kind of argued with her about it. That it was. I finally had to pull up Facebook and go back a year's worth of posts to find the previous year's like anniversary post. And sure enough, it was on December the 17th. So I'll never forget it now, but better to be early than late is all I'm saying.
There is no doubt about that. Okay, let's a couple questions about mom. Where was your mom born?
So I have family up there, so I know she was born in North Carolina. The city, I'm not quite sure.
Do you know the city?
I'm going to say Raleigh, North Carolina.
That's incorrect. She was born in a husky.
That's in North Carolina, though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is in North Carolina. Yeah.
Okay, you had
It's
to state right.
very small town.
You had to state right. Kinley, where was mom born?
Delaware in Wennington.
Close.
That's
Wilmington.
close enough. I was
Wilmington.
may or may not have asked her before.
Yeah, you may have saw that question. Wilmington, Delaware is right. So back to a question about dad. If your dad planned a vacation for the family, where would it be and what would you be doing? Kinley, we'll go to you first. If your dad planned a vacation for the family, where would it be and what would you be doing?
It would probably be in Indiana. We've been there before, but I mean, it'd probably be there. And you mean like sport? He would, well, we've already done this,
Okay.
but I feel like he would take us to like where he's been when he was younger, which we
Yes.
did already do that. But he'd probably take us back up there and do something.
Yeah, trip down memory lane in good old Indiana. That's right. That's a good one. How about you, Braden?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've done this or may even be doing this. So I'd say he loves to camp and be outdoors, so he'd definitely be camping and in an RV and probably somewhere in the mountains where there's a bunch of hiking and a lot of stuff to do around the campground. So yeah.
That sounds about right.
That is the vacation we're taking this summer.
There you go. Called it. All right, last question. Daniel, I put this one on here. I have no idea where it's going to go,
Okay.
but here we go. So obviously, both of you are pastors' kids. Both of you have heard many messages that your dads have preached over the years. What is one bad habit that your dad has while they are preaching? What is one thing that you always notice or you may critique? Because we know pastors' kids always have feedback for their dads after they speak.
I feel like I know one
So-
for him, and isn't it a lot of slides?
Jeez, you're not
I feel
supposed
like
to pick on me, kid.
You have so many slides.
yeah.
Dude, because I
That's
do
true.
slides back there, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
you're right.
goodness.
I do have a lot of slides.
Man, Kinley's going
My
after
dad-
Daniel.
I know, geez.
My dad has the tendency to just keep going till someone stops him. So he goes for a long
No, I
time
don't.
sometimes.
That's not true.
And yeah, I just say he goes for quite a long time. And then it's always like, well, they're telling me don't got too much time left, so I might really have to sum all this up. Basically saying I have way more, but they are telling me I have to get down.
I thought his would be you always use him in lessons
That is
every
true.
time you pick on him.
But I actually like that. I like it.
Oh, I don't know. I just had your dad in chapel here recently. I feel like he hit the time on the button,
Well, that's
right on the
that's
money.
the reality is
You
I'm
know what I
actually
mean?
good on the timer, but no matter what happens, whenever I finish a message, I say, "Hey, how'd it go?" And he always says, "Too long." So that's the.
Too long. Kinley, you got one for me.
I don't know. I feel like if I saw you preach again, I'm trying to think.
Man, I'm
Maybe.
sure I've got plenty of them.
Oh, so maybe the stories are good, but they're really random. Like, we found this TV on the side of the road, and that just shows you that God can bring this out of nothing. Like, okay, there's a TV on the side of the road. And then my friends will turn to me like, did that actually happen? Like, yes. Like, did you use the most not even like sentimental?
Okay, I do that. I thought you were gonna say. I always say the other day this happened, and you're like,
Yes.
Dad.
Oh my
that happened
goodness,
like
that.
5 years
yes,
ago.
yes,
Because then my
yes.
friends will ask me like, did that happen? I'm like, yeah, when I was 2. Like,
Well, good job. Y'all passed.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Okay,
Excellent.
thank
Way
you.
to go. Daniel, I know we were talking about this a little bit this
Yeah.
morning, but kind of set up, you talked about the
the-
two sides to every coin and kind of the importance of this discussion.
So, we've been doing kind of a topical conversation in the podcast over the season. We have decided in the last couple of episodes to lock in to a theme that we've also been preaching on in our church. So if you're in the Jacksonville area, we've been in this Table Talk series talking about tough conversations in the home. And this past Sunday, as everybody's listening to this, we'll have talked about parenting. And I would say, the big weight of the message is that we parent kids God's way from a biblical perspective. And so you can go back and check out the message. One of the things that I was saying with Joel, which is true, is the truth of the matter is, and even in our passage from this week, which was Ephesians chapter 6, there's two, sides of the coin when it comes to parenting. There's the parents, and then there are the kids of all ages, young kids, teenagers, adult kids.
Yeah.
And in our passage this week, there was instruction given to both. Now, and I said to you, admittedly, if you're in church for any length of time, their messaging is almost always to parents by parents. Mm-hmm. So, parent up on the stage talking to parents, when the other half of the equation is the students or the kids. And so that's where we kind of thought it would be really good to have a parenting conversation. But I think you guys will be able to give us some insights, not about what mom and dad or grandma and grandpa are thinking, but about what the kids are thinking in the dynamics of the home. So Joel and I will talk a little bit, but I think everybody listening really would love for you guys to pull the curtain back and kind of tell us, well, what's going on in the minds of our kids while we're trying to parent. So
yeah,
I know Joel's got like tons of great questions for you.
Yeah.
So you guys ready for the questions?
Yep, I'm about to pull some curtains back right now.
Pull those curtains back. Okay, here we go. Here's the first one, and we're just going to have a conversation and talk through some of these. Here's the first question. What are some things that you wished parents or kids, maybe kids that you talk to, or just from your own perspective, what are things that students wished their parents talked more about with them? We're always obviously trying to communicate and talk to you all about a little bit of everything, but sometimes we don't always know if we're talking to you about the right things. What are some things that you're like, man, if my parent talked to me about this, or I wish they would talk to me about this because I want to have a conversation?
Probably more of things when they were younger that they like small things that were big to them back then. Because like when you see your parent, you don't think of them as your age. Like if you see pictures, when you see pictures, like you forget that they were in the exact same spot as you. And like even things that are big now won't be big later, but vice versa. Like you want to know what they went through too.
Yeah, no, it's great.
That's really good.
Yeah, I'd definitely say like my dad always is curious, so he asks me every once in a while, but like big on parents just like asking the kids if they're willing to answer what's going on in their life, because that can bring up some big response, and then you can just go on from there and just builds that relationship with your parents and all that good stuff. So yeah.
It's hard about that on the parent side, right?
No.
When we ask what's going on, and then you say what?
Good.
Yeah. No, you're right. I do agree with you. From time to time, we do get into bigger conversations.
Yep.
But yeah, that's really, really helpful.
Yeah, and I think talking about what things were like when we were younger and having conversations of what we went through is very helpful. We may not always want to share all the mistakes that we made, but sometimes those can help you all maybe avoid the same mistakes.
Can I flip the question around, because I think this is probably good for all of us parents listening to hear. What do you feel like your parents talk too much about and you're like, I got it, I don't need to hear this as much anymore?
Ooh.
Definitely I just will, from my grandparents too, like anytime I call them, they're like, what's the girl situation like at school? And then I'm like, okay, here we go. And then it's just a whole lot of awkwardness for a little bit.
So you're kind of, you'd be happy if everybody dialed that back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about it, but like on my own time, I feel like. But I don't want y'all to come out the blue and just be like, what's the girl situation like at school?
Kinley, how about you? What do parents talk too much about?
I don't know. Probably. Wait, I don't think that's right. I'm trying to think. It's mostly like, oh, something that happened like a while. Like, tell them, I say something that Sarah in 3rd grade did something to me, and then now, like, mom or you'll ask me like, so how's that going? I'm like, that happened like 5. I mean, because like that sounds really teenager of me. Like that was like 2 weeks ago, but
Right,
like it really was, and that's
Yes.
like combed over now because people like are too sensitive and they just forget things. Like
You're saying we feel like we make a bigger deal about stuff than you feel
yeah,
about it.
because like
It was not a big
if
deal.
something happens to Jimmy at school and I tell them about it, and then it's like 2 weeks, like even 2 days later, like it's brushed off. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like, Jimmy's fine now.
yeah, like, that happened like 2 days.
Jimmy,
ago.
you're fine. We care about you,
Yeah.
Jimmy. Okay, good. All right, here's another question. So as kids get older, and you guys are both 15, is that right?
15, like
Okay.
2 weeks.
Okay. All right. As kids get older, there's a tough balance between freedom, what you want the freedom to be able to do, and then control, what your parents want as God-given authority. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about that? Where do kids get it right or wrong? Where do parents get it right or wrong between parents having the control, but then also giving you some freedom?
So my dad uses a term like every time I go out, he's like, deposit trust in the bank. So I have some to use and stuff like that. And it's just like, if I'm out doing bad things or not depositing trust and I'm taking trust out, then that's going to alter their decision because they know what I do or they can't trust me. So it's just big on getting their decision right, judging by what you've been doing good lately so they can trust you and all that stuff.
That's great. No, that's good. Kinley, how do you feel about that when it comes to freedom, trust, but also your parents having some control?
I don't know how to phrase this, but probably like, I mean, you guys do understand, so do we, that our worlds that we both grew up in are like polar opposite. The way things run, the way people are, stuff like that. So I understand where you would want to be more protective. But then this sounds really dumb, but I mean, we're closer to the rapture than you were, so you gotta live it up.
Oh my goodness.
But I mean, but of
Do
course.
you guys think we had more freedom than y'all do now?
Yeah, that's
Is that
the
what
question.
you're saying? You think?
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
saying we need to
definite-
fit more things in there. We're definitely closer than y'all were.
I mean, I think definitely all I hear about was like, I'm pretty sure on the podcast last week, it was just like, y'all were talking about y'all's childhood and like, my dad was talking about how in kindergarten he was just riding bikes around the neighborhood with this random neighbor.
Yeah, we can't do that.
And that's how he got his best friend.
But like now, I was walking my dog. I see a random person sitting in their truck. Nope. Turn back around. I'm scared. That's where things are much different. Like
It
you used
is.
to just walk to the gas station, and
It is different now.
Yeah.
So you can't really fault your parents on having a little more control and being protective then?
Yeah, but then the
Yeah.
other side.
But I feel like there are some things that they don't understand. Like, they'll be like, well, make sure you be safe about this, like something. And they're like, Dad, like, that's not even like that big of a deal or something like that. Like, my mom is very protective. Like, she won't let my sister like walk to Starbucks from the parking lot without just like, I have to walk with her or something like that. And then like, I'm also just feel like, all right, Mom, let's tone it back. Like, it's not that serious. I mean, something could go terribly bad, but what are the chances that in the Starbucks parking lot something's going to go bad? So.
Where do you guys wish? I mean, I know we're talking about simple stuff, which is fine too.
Yeah.
But where do you wish, within the realm of obviously not bad things, but
Right.
where do you wish? And it doesn't have to be you personally, but maybe you hear your friends talking about this. Where do you wish you had more freedom? And you guys are right in the middle of your teenage
Yeah.
high school careers.
Yeah.
Where do you wish you had more freedom?
probably this is like cliche, but hanging like this year especially, I know I have made a lot of new friends. And of course, they're like, "You want to come over to my house or do you want to go do something?" And it's always I have to ask like weeks in advance because I understand like you don't know them that well. You don't trust them that well. But like I know this year I'll be like mentioning new people like, "Oh, so and so wants to hang out." And he's like, "Well, who's this?" And then we have to find their whole backstory before I can go over to their house. I'm like, I don't think it's that deep. I'm just gonna go over for a few hours.
Okay.
What I'm hearing is, Joel, it sounds like we're good parents.
I know. That's exactly what I
mean, I want you to know who they
interpreted
are.
Interpreted out of that.
Yeah. Me and my friends usually talk about like grades. Like our parents are hard on us on the grades, and like I want to say so many times to my parents, just like, let me just figure it out. Like, trust me, it'll all resolve in the end and stuff like that. But I've not been too good on that lately. So I mean, I can definitely see
right
where
here on the podcast.
I can see where they're coming from, but definitely like just give it just a little bit and don't be like pressing, because that makes me even more stressed out. So like I'm just like, just let me do what I do and get it done.
Yeah, I mean that especially, but also as I'm getting older, I've noticed like multiple things. Or if I'll ask like, "Hey, can you let me figure this out?" They'll be more like, "Okay, well, you can see and then you can try." Because you mean like this is weird too, but like what was I gonna say? Like something with like a stove and like you let the kid put the hand on the stove and like burns them and like
you're saying that's a good thing.
Yeah, you have to teach them how to recover from their mistakes instead of just holding them back, like, because you have to learn from your mistakes, basically.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Giving you some freedom to make your own decisions. And sometimes you learn the hard way, but that may help you in the long run.
Yeah.
Okay. So the passage that we just taught through on Sunday really focuses a lot on kids obeying their parents, Ephesians 6. When is it easy to obey, and when is it hard to obey? And you can put this, it doesn't have to be specific stories in your household, but
we would prefer it's not.
Yes, actually, we would prefer. We don't have to do any editing on this podcast.
I think
when is it easy to be like, boom, I got it, and when's it like,
I feel like obeying is way easier whenever you're fine doing it or it's something that you want to do, and then like it may be way harder whenever you may have to go out of your way or you're like, man, I really don't like doing this. So you're just having to drag yourself to do what your parents say, but it's way easier to obey whenever you're like, man, I do this on a daily basis, or I'm completely fine with doing whatever you're asked. But so yeah.
I probably have like two examples. One of them would be like, I hate when this happens. When I'm doing something, like let's say I'm cleaning my room and then my mom comes to me, "Hey, you gotta clean your room." I'm just like it makes me just not want to anymore. Like, I don't know. It's just
because we asked you to clean your room.
Well, because like I'm doing it by myself and I feel like independent. Like, okay, I'm cleaning my room.
I'm about to go in the living room and be like, "Mom, I cleaned my room."
Yeah.
And be like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you."
Yeah, that's what I want.
But you just did it because she asked you to.
Yeah, and then that just makes it not as good. And then also I'd say more of like a way, like if I'm around a lot of people and like there's a lot of stuff happening and then you tell me to do something, it's like I'm trying to pay attention to everyone and do it at the same time. So it's like harder to get things done.
Gotcha. Is there ever a struggle? We talked about one side of obedience. How about the other side of maybe it's something you want to do and your parents are saying, no, you can't do that. Is that easy at times to obey that? Or is that always hard because it's something that you want to do and you may not quite understand why they're saying you can't do that?
I think really when you don't understand why you can't do it, it's always going to be hard. And then you may just like, after they tell you no, but you just like keep begging. You're like, come on. You're just trying to give them reasons and stuff like that why it's fine. But when you understand and then you look back on it, you're like, you know what, this maybe not be the best decision. Then I feel like you can be like, see where your parents are coming from and kind of just be like, all right, I'm going to sit this one out.
Yeah. I feel like in the moment it feels like a big deal, but then like once they officially say no and then you just like back away, like he said, you're just like, well, okay. Like you just kind of have to give it up anyway.
So maybe more of a parenting question for us, Daniel, is how do we avoid the because I said so response? But then at the same time, you don't want to have to always feel like I've got to explain everything. I just want you to trust me.
Well, I think that's the balance point, and it's good hearing them talk about it where, there are two things that are true at the same time. And so we kind of talked about this in the message, the responsibility or authority that parents have, and responsibility is probably even the better word for kids, is God-given, and it's a biblical idea. And so there's, on one side of the coin, it's true that, we should have the ability to make the call, make the decision, if we're embracing that in a godly way. Listening to them talk, I think it's also important to go, as our kids, we should be able to engage that authority in different ways as our kids mature. When they're really young, I think, Kinley, you gave a great illustration with the whole hand and the stove. When they're really young, you swipe their hand away and you don't have to explain to them how heat works and pain. As they get a little older, you can actually have the conversation about why this is bad and what could happen. And I think it's hard. I'm telling you guys this, so you guys know this. It's hard for us, and I think this will just continue to be true as you get older and get into college and your adult lives. We still have very vivid memories of you guys when you're really little, and that's how we parented for a long time. And it's increasingly, we got to remind ourselves to go, hey, at some point we owe them an explanation, or it's a good thing for us to provide an explanation for what we're doing, as opposed to just our authority, which is good. I mean, we can always do that, and just say, hey, because I said so, and that's not untrue.
Right, exactly.
But I think hearing them talk, it's a reminder, as our kids mature, the why becomes as, or probably more important than the what. And I think you're right. I know the truth is, you and I, or your mom and you and whoever, our biggest arguments or whatever tend to be about when we disagree, not on what it is we're doing, but when he or some of us don't understand why we're making the decisions we're making.
Yeah. That's really good.
Definitely.
They're like, yep, we agree. So when it comes to your faith, our responsibility as a parent, the Bible says, to train up a child in the way they should go. When they're old, they will not depart from it. And that's really a principle. It's not always a promise, but it's a principle in God's word. When it comes to your faith and helping you on your walk with God, like our parents helped us when we were your age, what can parents do that is helpful?
I'd say the parents to try your best to just surround us around church as many times out of the week that we can. So put us in Wednesday student ministry, Sunday services, stuff like that, because it really just so as you're going throughout your day, you always have that thing. And just church is just a part of your life. So really, and also just take away the distractions that may be leading us in the wrong way and stuff like that. So I'd say just really just base our life and the parents' lives and be a good example of what faith looks like to the kids and stuff like that. So yeah.
That's great. Kinley, how about you?
Probably kind of bouncing back with, we are definitely growing up in a different world with different distractions and different standards that we think we have to meet. So mainly trying to think of, let me put myself in their shoes, even though it's probably much more difficult because we're very different in those ways. Probably putting yourself in our shoes, and then just little things here and there. It does, you don't have to do a big message every time you see us, not smiling.
Also sit you down and preach a 3-point sermon with a poem.
I'd say just small things here and there. And also, of course, your faith is your own. So you need to, of course, you're not babying them the whole time. Sure. You just need to let them figure it out, but then help them here and there you should. And also if, as an example, it's if you see me, I don't know, if you see me praying at church or something, or doing something, let it be my own. But it's fine if you can come up with me. It's just I know I've heard from other people where if they're praying by themselves and you get to pray with them, they're hey, let me just do it by myself.
Sure.
just stuff like that.
Like, yeah, don't act like when you go pray, just like act like that's not out of the normal and stuff like that, and just leave them be. Yeah, that's really good.
Okay, great. Now, this may be a little more in your world than maybe most kids, but you guys are around church a whole lot more than maybe some of your friends because your dads are pastors. A lot of times we can talk about, maybe the negative side of that or get into that, but I want to get into the positive side of that. Like, what do you enjoy about that from what God has called your dad and your families to do? What do you enjoy about being around church and ministry a lot?
Free food.
Free food.
We get a lot of donuts on Sundays.
I'm not gonna lie, that is a major
Yes.
perk. Like I'm not gonna.
It's great.
That is not the answer I was expecting you guys.
I know, right?
But
Friday night
I'd say-
setup.
Yeah, that's something. But I'd say definitely just almost just like automatically having a good relationship with everyone in church and stuff like that, and just like kind of everyone knows who you are, so you feel like really comfortable around everyone no matter what situation you're in.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I feel like that's what I enjoy most, is just the people and how they treat you and stuff like that.
That can be good and bad also, because
Okay.
a lot of people will know me and then I'll have some random people come to me like, I know you from somewhere. I'm like, oh, I'm Kinley, Joel's daughter. And they're like, oh, and I'm like,
That's
Joel's
the
daughter.
negative side of it.
There's nothing negative about it. I'm just like,
I know.
I would want people to know me too. But I mean, I don't have to deal with any setup, so mainly
Ooh.
not.
Okay.
But
Braden gets
Yeah.
pulled in on Friday nights pretty regular for some setup.
Hey,
But it's all
maybe
coming,
not for
it's
too
all
much
coming
longer.
to
Not
an
for
end
too
in
much
just a few
longer,
more
yeah.
months.
Not
yeah.
for too much longer.
Hopefully. There you go.
Now, not to get too personal, but is there anything not fun about being around the ministry and church a lot? Maybe some of the funny stuff that you've already kind of mentioned.
probably having to stay really
knew
late
she was gonna
or
say
stay
that.
really early. But it's also good sometimes. But staying late is annoying sometimes if you don't have a ride. Or like there's that one kid, which I do choose to stay late sometimes, but like there's that one kid who just never gets picked up. So, like,
You're
I'm
talking
not
about
gonna-
something that I will say this is uniquely youth ministry.
It is.
Yes.
And so,
It is.
yeah, that's,
but
I don't have to worry about that too much. but-
yeah, but it also can be downside if we want to go on a vacation. He's got to be back on Sundays, which I mean, sometimes like either he'll have to leave or we'll all have to leave. So I mean, like it's like, can you just miss one? And you can't do it.
I can.
That is
Just not
missing
a bunch.
Sundays. Like I have a basketball tournament this weekend, and my dad's having to leave Sunday to go
Right.
preach. So definitely, like, can you just miss one Sunday, or having to go back from vacation, like she said? But I'd say staying late is definitely a big thing, and also like it's good to be around it a lot, but like sometimes you're like, okay, like let's just like take a day off or something. And then also I feel like we have to go a lot of places, like whether
Yeah.
it be like dinners with families and stuff like that, just because it's just my dad's duty to do all that. So
I just thought of a good downside. Let's set up the scenario.
Oh,
so,
no. this could go off the rails, everybody.
first church service, 9 a.m. Hey, church at 9 a.m. Be there. Church service 9 a.m. 10:45 service. So done with all that. Really hungry. Let's go eat. Okay, so if we make it out of the auditorium in 30 minutes, in less than 30 minutes, that's insane. That's a world record. Oh, but then there's the Connections Plaza. He's got to talk to someone. Someone's got to stop him. Like there'll be times where I'm like, oh, where are you? He's like, I'm gonna go outside the Connections Plaza and go around so no one can stop me. Like he's always got to be stopped by someone, and then you just have to stand there awkwardly shaking your head.
Hey.
And like, you know what's going on.
That's part of what we do, right?
Yeah. But not when you're hungry.
When you're hungry. So a lot of parents struggle with relationships with their kids, especially as kids reach the teenage years. I know when our kids were younger, sometimes it just felt like it was easier when they were younger just to hang out and talk about stuff. As you guys become teenagers, you come it's a little bit more difficult to kind of figure out how to hang out and talk and build relationships. So I think it'd be cool to hear from you all. If a parent's struggling with a relationship with their kid throughout their teen years, what are things that parents could do better to grow that relationship? And what are some things that you think maybe you could be better at when it comes to your relationship with your parents?
Probably communication is a big thing in all relationships, not even like parents or just everyone. Communication equally on both sides, not just one person talking or the other person. But also like showing interest in the little things. So like, let's say I don't even know. Volleyball. Yeah, it's kind of cliche, but volleyball.
Right.
If something happens, just like little things or like singing, just being interested in that, because then that makes the relationship more personal for both sides, I feel like. And then also same for kids and parents, just like bringing up small things, like asking like, oh, what was your favorite song when you were my age? And then playing it in the car or something like that.
Yeah. Brayden, how about you?
I'd also say all that stuff is good, but also like if you can tell the kids had a bad day, like you can just ask them like, hey, what's wrong? So like if in case like something like serious is wrong, but like if they don't want to talk, like I'd say like don't like bug them, because all they're saying is in their mind right now it's just like, man, can mom just stop talking to me? She's being mad annoying right now. And that's not like, and then if you don't talk and then they're like, man, they're just like something, I just say don't like bug them into trying to speak whenever they may really not want to speak right now.
Those are great. So what are some things that you feel like, hey, here's where I can, this is a two-way street. What are some things you think kids could do better when it comes to relationships with their parents?
Probably understanding sometimes, like my parents have been through this and they have more experience than I do, and letting them take the wheel sometimes, even though at this age of 14 you can't, not 14.
You're 15.
You are about to drive, but you're not at the driving age where you can just go anywhere. But then same with like friends, probably like, where was I going to go with that? I forgot. Goodness. What was I talking about? Oh, they've been through it, and just thinking that they have a big impact on that. Yeah. And like they've been at your age, they know how hard it is, even though things are different.
Yeah.
It's probably just respecting how wise they can be, but yeah, probably that.
I'd say understanding that your parents are the ones that discipline you and keep you in check, but the kids also need to understand and try to have their parents also be like their best friend too, and just because whenever they're your friend, you just joke around with them and stuff like that, it really just helps a relationship. So I'd say just like trying to understand that they discipline you, but also they want to be your friend and love you as well.
Yeah. Am I reading that right, Daniel, on just hearing kind of their feedback? Is a relationship, does it have a lot to do with personalities? Like, are there like personality differences with parents and their kids? Is that part of it? But then is there also just things that the kid and the parent could do better at to help build that relationship?
Yeah, well, I think what they said is really good. I wouldn't really add to it other than, on the parent side, I think, and it's good for you guys to hear this, I think we do have to kind of, navigate both the dual role, and Brayden, what you just said is important, we do have to sometimes not be the friend and do the hard thing. And that creates tension, even though we don't want it to create tension. And so that's always a challenge. And then, I think what you just brought up, Joel, is recognizing, especially if you've got multiple kids, and we do, that our kids are different from each other, and our interests can be similar or they can be different. And so I think what you said, Kinley, earlier about parents really being intentional about the little things, and hey, if they like a song, if there's some taking a focus, even if it's not the natural, what I'm into. I'll give you a specific example. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, and I'm not really loving it, to be honest with you. But like Braden he'll try to always control the music in the car, and
that's Kinley.
Well, I got good music.
Yeah, well, and I'm not saying his music is bad, but like he'll also play sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes like country music. Different artists, and I am so not into country music, and I can't get into it. Like I'm trying, but I'm just like, all right. And I mean, I'm finding myself finding the appreciation for certain artists and songs, but that's what I'm talking about.
That's exactly.
Hey, I'm gonna power through it because
right
I
with
know
you.
What's that?
So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I just.
You're
right there on the country music.
No, I hate it.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Yeah, it's terrible.
If it comes on in the car, skip.
Yeah. And Braden's over here like trying to move me through the Luke Combs catalog, basically. And I'm just like, I do not care about this at all. But
And then if he's like, I don't like this, I'm like, just wait till you hear this song.
yeah, here we go. Here's the next one.
Listen, there's a really good song y'all need to listen to. It's country. It's called Parked Out by the Lake. Check it out.
Oh my goodness. Do not listen to that.
Check it out, everyone on the
Change your life.
podcast. It will change your life. Well, hey, here's where I want to finish the conversation. And I feel like this is a really good place to finish it because it's a huge part of your life. It is social media. So when it comes to social media and entertainment, so let's across the spectrum of whether it's YouTube, streaming platforms, social media, let's talk a little bit about that when it comes to maybe guidelines, because obviously, parents have certain rules and guidelines to try to protect you when you get involved in that world, or freedoms that they kind of give you a little bit to trust you with it. So what are you guys' thoughts when it comes to social media? And I know for you, and maybe the same for Braden, there's probably a certain age limit where you can't have social media until this age. And hey, here's what you need to do with it. And here's what you can do with your account. It can be private or public. How do you guys feel about that with your parents being involved with your social media and entertainment? Is that important to you? Does it become annoying at times? What are your thoughts?
Probably respecting both boundaries. So I know like when you ask for something, you need to put thought into it first. Like I'm a very like, I won't just be like, hey, can I have a social media app? I will take weeks in advance to think, well, here, like I like would type something out. I'd be like, well, here's why I want to hear the good sides, hear the bad sides. You can do this with it. You can do that with it. Or like, that's just
like an
me.
attorney over here making her case.
That's exactly what I did.
She is not lying.
Yeah.
She presented me her case.
Yeah.
Because
Makes it hard to say no.
yeah. But also with different accounts, like keeping it private, which I mean, I'm more comfortable with that than having it public, but just respecting how they want it to be, because obviously I've said this multiple times, it's so different for them. And like, of course, there are a lot of bad things on the internet, but you can also learn a lot of good things. Like you can learn different educational things that can help you, but like just basically respecting boundaries that they want you to set for it.
Okay.
I'd say it can definitely be annoying at times whenever you just look around, you're like, man, everyone's got this app.
Well, actually, that's
a
a
point.
question I was going to ask.
Yeah.
I want to hear you talk about this, or both of you. You're presupposing something which is true for both of these two kids, which is we do have like limits on and you know what they do and stuff.
Yep.
But I guess obviously you guys are around. I'm not being judgmental. I'm just saying it.
No.
You're around tons of kids where it's wide open, right? Mm-hmm. Is that the norm?
I'd say depends on where you're at. Definitely the norm. Like I'd say, definitely depends where you're at.
But that's hard to deal with.
Yeah, it's hard to deal with, and especially you're like, man, everyone's got this app, and then like you look at what your friends are doing with the app, and you're like, oh geez, it's like this app maybe has definitely some bad sides on it. But I'd also just like going back and just, it may be annoying at first, but once you like understand and like look, you're like, man, this really may not be good for me right now. All the distractions and bad stuff it's got on it. You're like, be like, all right, I'm just good for right now, and I'll just be content with what I got. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the same for basically how it is, because like most people have like just unlimited access, which is a good thing to respect your parents on, because they know more things, or like they're keeping you from something that you didn't know was there. So I'd say that's a good part of it, but also with like every like kid at our school. Like some people have no boundaries, some people have a lot of boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically, you can't, like, they always use like the movie excuse. It's like, well, everyone else has a phone or everyone else has it. These days, it's really not like that. It's just everyone is different. Some
Yeah.
people have unlimited screen time. Some people have 1 minute. Some people have 2 minutes. It's just, you just have to respect what they want you to have. And there's not really a norm. It's just whatever your parents are letting you do.
This is really hard because, and Kinley, you've actually said this a couple times. You've said, the world is so different now from when we were. And I think I hear you on a lot of the things. I think it's actually not that different. This area is very different for us as parents. Because the truth is a lot of the things that have been going on in the world have been going on when Joel and I were kids as well.
Yeah.
This is a thing that we didn't grow up with. Our parents never, we had good parents both, it's like, but they never had to parent us around social media. We never had restrictions on our phones because we didn't have phones.
I had a beeper.
Well, yeah.
One time.
So it's
Like,
this
that?
is something I think it's important for you guys to know, like, we're definitely probably not going to be perfect in this area, but also we also really truly did not have to experience this growing up. And so I think this is a key area where I do think your world is very different than our world. And trying to navigate that, I just want you guys to know, as hard as you guys think it is with whatever limits you have, it's like crazy hard for us to figure out. We don't want you to be
in a box,
upset. We don't want you to be disconnected from your friends. Like one of the hard things for us when Braden and I were working through this, and we still are, is like, it was the way he would make a case. Not quite as formal as yours, I don't think, but he would talk to me. It's like, hey, this is the way we message each other and communicate. And for me, that was hard because it was like, well, if I tell him he can't do this, because I'm not afraid of that, I'm afraid of whatever he's going to see or something like that.
Yeah.
Like the apps are good. It's just like what they were made to do are good to communicate with your friends and stuff like that. But just people just take it sideways and just use it.
But that's what's hard is like we realize, hey, if we restrict this from you, we don't want to do this, but we're also restricting you from communicating this way with your friends.
Right.
And that's a tough thing for us. Like we wrestle with that because we don't want you to not be able to connect with your friends. But we have to weigh out
That's where a lot of, I think, my respect goes. Like, this generation is different with social media and stuff. And it's hard for both sides because, like, there's the thing where it's like, well, my parents don't understand, which they don't, but they're trying to. And it's as hard for them to as it's hard for you to. So basically you're just trying to understand how our world's going too. Yeah. Which can be equally as hard.
Yeah, I think like understanding where your parents are coming from, and also no matter how hard it may be, try your hardest to make your own boundaries whenever you're using social media and stuff like that. And then just be like, if this thing just keeps bothering you, just be like, man, this maybe is not good for me, and just eliminate those distractions and stuff like that. Just really, no matter how hard it may be, just try your best to create the own boundaries.
Yeah, and that's the goal.
Yeah.
As parents, we don't want to always make decisions for you.
Yeah.
We want to prepare you to use wisdom, godly wisdom, to make your own decisions for yourself. Now, obviously, that's getting further and further down, not further down the road, that's coming closer to you than it was years ago. So there's still that pull where we still feel like we have to make decisions for you because that's what God's called us to do. But we want to prepare you to make decisions for yourself. So that's a great point. Here's the last question I have, and if Daniel has anything, I'll have him say it. So when you're talking about boundaries and social media across the board, I like to think of guardrails along the side of a mountain. And has there been a point in your 14, 15 years of life where you've actually been thankful that your parents put guardrails on something, where you've looked back and been like, okay, wow, I'm so glad. I was kind of frustrated with that rule, but now that I look back, I'm like, man, I'm glad my parents had that rule because that really did protect me from something, or that really did keep me from something. Have you had that? You don't have to get specific, but Have you had that experience yet when it comes to boundaries and guidelines that your parents
or has
put
it
out
all
there?
been terrible?
I'd say definitely. Not just social media. You can just see where your parents have saved you with all the boundaries that they've given you, stuff like that. So I'd say, yeah, definitely. And even though you think your parents are crazy at first, until you have that situation where you're like, man, this really did help me. That really is just like, okay, maybe they do know way more than I do.
Kinley, same experience? Different experience?
I gotta think. I can't think of like a specific thing.
Yeah, I didn't know anything specific, but
this sounds like really stupid, but like something where like when I was younger, I saw a shirt I liked that was like, and now I would look back, I'm like, I thank God Mom did not let me get that, because I would have been terrible. Like just like there's small things like that, but also big things. Like I'm glad she kept me from going to this house, from like going to my friend's house, because I saw what they did and it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
So stuff that you have to wait to understand instead of just like going in the moment.
Yeah.
Love it. No, hey, that's really good. Guys, man, thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
Final question. Who's your favorite parent, mom or dad? I'm just kidding. Don't answer.
I almost did.
He was super close.
Don't answer.
Joel kind of looked at me, so I thought they were expecting a response. I'm just playing.
Well, seriously, thank you all for jumping on and being on the podcast today. Good luck with finals as you finish it out this week. Hey, thank you for joining the Trinity podcast today. Right here, we want to help everyday people discover an extraordinary life with God. If you're in the Jacksonville area, we definitely invite you to join one of our locations, whether on the west side of Jacksonville, in Oakleaf, or in Mandarin. We have services at 9 and 10:45. We'd love for you to come be a part of our church family. We'll catch you next time.